Now we would like to invite the First Lady of our Republic, Madam, Her Excellency, Madam Mrs. Fatima, Leone, to make a statement.
His Excellency, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, retired Brigadier Julius Mario, my dearest husband, Ministers of Government here present, my Lord the Chief Justice of the Republic of Sierra Leone, panel of judges here present, the Master and Registrar, our development partners, representative of the civil society organizations, members of the Fourth Estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am honored to be part of this historic moment in the fight against sexual and gender-based violence. As we gather here this moment, I ask us to reflect on the cultural and traditional issues that affect our women folks and the future we want for our girls in a society where they are confronted with violence, abuses, and discrimination on a daily basis. As we walk these paths today, let us go home knowing that violence against women and girls has become commonplace in Sierra Leone with no regards to their pride, dignity, or their future. In particular, violence against women in Sierra Leone is a persistent problem that limits the ability of our women and girls to contribute to society and our national development. The time to act is now. In fact, it is well recorded that several of the perpetrators of rape are close relatives or intimate partners who consider rape acceptable in our society. Such practice needs to change. And I, Fatima, have joined a community of people to take this fight forthwith. In December 2018, other African First Ladies and members of the general public in Sierra Leone joined me in a peaceful protest in the street of Freetown, expressing our frustrations over the rampant incidents of rape of our women and girls in the country. A situation that is consistently undermining social change and national development. Since 2018, the Office of the First Lady, with the support from the government of Sierra Leone and other development partners, successfully rolled out the Hands of Our Girl campaign at international level and in all the 16 political districts in Sierra Leone, with the sole objective of creating awareness to enhance global and community involvement around preventing and reporting issues of rape. Since the launch of the Hands of a Girl campaign, we have succeeded in gradually shifting the culture of silence and indifferences towards rape, thereby increasing the number of reported cases to the Family Support Units, the Rainbow Center, and the Aberdeen Women's Center. Sadly, Your Excellency, we have in recent times witnessed violent rape and the consequent death of our young girls by wicked and senseless individuals who are identified as relatives of the victims in their communities. The rate of sexual incidences have also provided a platform to human rights and advocacy organizations and individuals rallying to end all forms of violence against women and girls in Sierra Leone. Despite the declaration of the national emergency on rape and a call to action to end all sexual and gender-based violence, cases of rape persist in Sierra Leone. rape remain a high-risk factor, creating embarrassment not for only the family, but for the government and the people of this nation. Since the beginning of this year, I have been in constant discussion with the leadership of the Sierra Leone Police, the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces, the Rainbow Center, the Country League of UNAID, the Honorable Chief Justice, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, UNFPA, Save the Children, discussing a workable roadmap towards ending violence against women and girls. The outcome of our engagement demonstrated sincere willingness on the part of all partners to contribute ideas and resources in support of our fight. Your Excellency, as part of your government's commitment to ending all forms of violence against women and girls in Sierra Leone, we are here this morning to make another history for our country. We are here to officially launch the Sexual Offences Model Court, which we've been yawning for since we launched Hands of Rodel. And this is a year and a half ago. Even as we gathered here this morning, let us remind ourselves of our constitutional and moral responsibility of safeguarding the rights and future of our women and girls. We call on all parties, all partners, our development partners, the media, civil society, and rights-based organizations to join hands in fighting a good fight towards eliminating entrenched social and cultural practices that violate the rights and privileges of women and girls in Sierra Leone. Your Excellency, my Lord the Chief Justice, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, violence against women and girls goes beyond sexual abuse. It includes the physical, emotional, and economic consequences which serve as barriers to the social, economic, and political empowerment of women and girls in this nation. For decades, our society has neglected such violence incidences against women, mostly referring to cases of abuse as household or family matter, neglecting the lifetime physical and emotional trauma it actually has on the victim. We should no longer as a nation, I repeat, we should no longer as a nation continue to play silence, allowing families and law enforcement agencies delay and downplay prosecution of offenders. We must ensure that victims of rape have unhindered access to justice and peer support in our communities. We therefore request all major players, including the government of Sierra Leone, to fast-track support to law enforcement institutions for speedy investigation and timely production of accurate and factual reports. Trials and prosecution of suspected and probable sexual offenses cases must be done as quickly as possible to help bring perpetrators to justice. To attain speedy closure of cases, we implore you all to provide the requisite capacity support to institutions and organizations fighting against sexual and gender-based violence to help increase response and preventive measures. Let me end my statement with these few words. Ending all forms of sexual violence against women and girls is a fundamental obligation for which all of us stand trials. We should not fail in our responsibility. Again, we should not fail in our responsibilities as leaders or role models to protect our women and girls. On this note, let me express my sincere thanks and appreciation to the Honorable Chief Justice Desmond Babatunde Edwards, Chief Justice of the Republic of Sierra Leone, for establishing the Sexual Offences Model Court, the Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the Honorable Bendu Dasama Kamara, Minister of Social Welfare, the Rainbow Center, Dr. Olabisi Claudius Cole, the leadership of the Sierra Leone Police, Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces, Save the Children, UNFPA, UNAIDS, the paramount chiefs of our country, religious leaders, the school-going children, AfriCell, AYV, the staffs of the Office of the First Lady, and more especially, the government of Sierra Leone for their relentless contribution towards ending sexual and gender-based violence in Sierra Leone. The reason why we're here today has come a very long way. This is a journey that we started a long time ago, and I want to say, in this journey, we have he for she that are championing everything we do. And I want to commend the Chief Justice for being one of those he for she championing this cause. And I want to commend, of course, our Chief Minister for helping champion this cause. And I truly want to ask the Chief Justice, if we may ask the Chief Justice, all of us please, to refer this court and call. We need to change the court not just as a sexual offences court, but can we change the name of this court as the Khadijah's Court? To His Excellency the President, my dearest husband, I say thank you so very much for your leadership and the love you have shown for the women and children of this country. May Allah continue to bless and keep you safe. Thank you all for your kind attention. God bless the Republic of Sierra Leone.
Thank you, Madam First Lady, for that statement. I would like to call upon the Honourable Chief Justice, Desmond Babatunde Edwards, to make a statement.
Madam Chairperson, His Excellency the President, Madam First Lady, Chief Minister, Attorney General and Minister of Justice, my Lords, Justices of the Superior Courts of Judicature, Ministers, all protocols observed. I feel extremely gratified to join the chairperson of this occasion in welcoming you all to this epoch-making event in the annals of the Sierra Leone judiciary. On behalf of myself and members of the judiciary, words are indeed quite short to describe how delighted, gratified, and honored we are that Your Excellency has found or made time possible, despite your busy schedules, to attend this auspicious occasion, to formally launch the Sexual Offences Model Court. I know for a fact that your busy schedules on matters of state and forging this great country ahead, but despite saying you have squeezed us into your program for the day, we are truly, exceedingly and abundantly grateful for your acceptance of our invitation. A very big welcome, Your Excellency. A special welcome to you, Madam First Lady, who have joyfully and gracefully joined your husband to grace this occasion. Your presence and participation has added glow to the program, and we are exceedingly grateful. You all, together with all the invited guests, are focal audience as you represent many, in the sense that we in the judiciary could have simply opened or launched the Sexual Offences Model Court without asking your presence. But we dared not, because we wanted to make an announcement, with you being present, that we are ready to increase our relevance in addressing sexual exploitation. and at the same time punish impunity in sexual exploitation with the robustness with which it deserves in order to deter others from committing sex crimes. I have listened keenly to all of you making statements, and I am duly encouraged. I wish to thank you all for your support and commendation. We look forward to more support as we are all in this thing together. As a way of further comment, Madam Minister of Gender and Children's Affairs, your 116 hotline and the SGB one-stops support and referral centers are most welcome. I will ask that support be given to this center for video recording to capture witness statements that are admissible in evidence, and that more doctors be enlisted for work at or with the centers, as only 3 doctors are available for the whole of Freetown, let alone the provinces. We were heartened to have 4 doctors apart from Dr. Olabisi Cole and Dr. Bintu Mansari in the recently conducted training on sexual offenses organized by the judiciary on Wednesday, 22nd July 2020. And I've heard that there are over 20 or more doctors that have shown interest. These doctors are relevant to our work. Their non-availability would most invariably slow the adjudication of sexual offenses in the courts. We need a good number all over the country. The use of midwives is good, but limited because they lack the legal authority when it comes to presentation of medical reports of victims in the courts pursuant to the Medical and Dental Association Act and the Criminal Procedure Act. Medical reports of alleged victim attacks must always be signed by medical doctors, which may pose issues of hearsay and other issues and challenged by defense counsel. We would therefore appreciate it if they be given assistance with training and more doctors come on board. The Sexual Offences Model Court is a growing new pattern in addressing sexual exploitation. It is informed along the lines that 1. Witnesses or victims experience a lot of difficulty in testifying about the intricate details of sex crime. 2. That a good number of witnesses who have to come to court and give evidence are vulnerable witnesses by virtue of their age or fear of stigmatization. 3. That the Sexual Offences Act 2012 had specifically provided in Section 40 thereof special measures, which are special procedures and measures geared towards assisting or protecting vulnerable or intimidated witnesses or survivors when they testify, so as to obtain high-quality evidence or the best evidence, which might aid conviction, if at all. But that the same had never been applied by the courts of Sierra Leone. To address these 3 big lacunae, it was necessary to upgrade the court to allow for special physical facilities, such as suitably adapted courtrooms, as well as private consultations, information desks, and waiting areas, through which we will apply special measures, hence the need for the Special Offences Model Court. The objectives of the court are to provide effective victim-witness support services that will reduce trauma, eliminate secondary victimization, increase victims' cooperation and attendance at the trial, and ensure a timely completion of matters. The Sexual Offences Model Court, which we are showcasing today, has the following facilities or measures. 1. A witness will be able to testify in court with support persons seated or standing with her inside the specially done witness box, which is a parallel with the judge's sitting position and behind a screen or curtain. 2, a witness will be able to testify or give evidence behind a screen or curtain which will prevent her getting eye contact with the accused. 3, a witness will be able to come to court assisted by a support person that may comfort her in the waiting room, separate from any public place where she may be subject to onlookers. 4, there will be a separate and distinct information center for SGB cases. 5, persons not directly involved in the case will be excluded from the court. 6, the press will be under obligation and directed never to disclose the names of victims. 7, there will be recording of evidence through video recording, and that video recording will be accepted as the witness's evidence, and any cross-examination, examination in chief can be done in camera in the judge's chambers or to exclusion from members of the public. 8, lastly, very competent judges, 12 in number, 8 in Freetown, where prevalence is at its highest, and 4 from the regional headquarter district, all of whom took part in this recently conducted training, have been enlisted into the Sexual Offences Division of the High Court, and as resident judges to be handling sex offences throughout the country. For the 8 judges in Freetown, they will take it in turns to sit on a daily basis in shift through a rota system where each will give 5.5 hours on alternate days throughout each week. The Sexual Offences Court will be open from 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. daily, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We shall be needing sufficient numbers of state council and doctors to match these time frames, hence the need for more doctors and state council. At this juncture, I think it is pertinent for me to address the judges that have been assigned to the Sexual Offences Division and the 4 resident judges of the southern, northern, and eastern regions. It behoves me to address them thus. The criminal law, you would agree with me, have always been biased in favor of the accused. This you will see from the fact that under the English system which we apply, 1, presumption of innocence is a principle of natural justice. The accused is deemed to be innocent until proven guilty. 2, with similar tenor, the standard of proof in a criminal trial is proof beyond reasonable doubt, which means that with the slightest doubt, judgment will be delivered in favor of the accused. Blackstone had embellished these concerns, and the same has been re-echoed several times by the statement, it is better for one guilty person to be free in the streets than one innocent man to be put behind bars. This notwithstanding, let me particularly remind you that the rights of the accused must not be diminished, but the judge must always be able to uphold and cater for the needs of the vulnerable witnesses with regards to sexual offences. In this regard, I want you to note the new Sexual Offences Act 2012 and 2019, as they are exceedingly and absolutely, in my opinion, victim bias. In this regard, it may interest you to note that while the old law had specifically retained the law on corroboration, which states as follows, quote, no person shall be committed of any offense under section 6, 7, 9, and 10 of this ordinance, meaning the Children and Young Persons Act, the Prevention of Cruelty to Children's Act, Cap 31. Let me read it again. It says, section 14 of the Prevention of Cruelty to Children Act, Cap 31 states, no person shall be convicted of any offense under section 6, 7, 9, and 10 of this ordinance upon the evidence of one witness, unless such witness be corroborated in some material particular by evidence implicating the accused, unquote. The new law as contained in the Sexual Offences Act 2020 and 2019 as amended, while specifically repealing sections 6, 9, and 10 of Cap 31, which require corroboration, have, while creating new offences like sexual penetration, rape, sexual touching, and other offences like aggravated assault, failed, refused, or neglected to mention anything about requirements for corroboration. Listening to your interactions at the training, it is clear to me that there are those who believe that corroboration is still law, and those who believe it is not law. There are those who would say, because Section 45(1) of the Sexual Offences Act 2012 says the Prevention of Cruelty to Children Act, Cap 31, is amended by repealing Sections 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 15. That section of the new Act expressly, specifically omitted Section 14, dealing with corroboration. Therefore, corroboration is still a requirement for sexual offences. I am of the other view. This I opine cannot be good. When it comes to the new Sexual Offences Acts 2012 and 2019, this is so for two reasons. Firstly, all charges are now made under the new Act, to wit, Sexual Offences Act 2012 and 2019, where you have offences like sexual touching, sexual penetration, rape, aggravated assault, etc., and not under the Prevention of Cruelty to Children Act, Cap 31, such that Section 14 becomes irrelevant insofar as the new acts are concerned. Secondly, even if there was any intention to charge under Section 6, 7, 9, and 10, which were the most serious offences under Cap 31, the same have been expressly repealed by Section 45(1) of the Sexual Offences Act 2012, which in the whole gamut of repealed section state Section 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, omitting 14, 15 are repealed, of which sections 6, 7, 9, and 10, which specifically require corroboration, are expressly repealed. Where then is corroboration? It simply has been thrown out of the way. Would you now import it into our laws as it is presently? The answer is obviously no, such that it is safe to conclude that corroboration as a requirement is not a requirement in the whole new Sexual Offences Act. Against the foregoing, despite the human rights protection that is offered to the accused, the very Sexual Offences Act 2012 and 2019 is pro-victim biased, and we as judges ought to apply it as it is, as a matter of attitude and policy. Now, as we stand, there are no DNA, no forensic evidence, and whatever evidence we lay our hands on, so long as it is quality evidence, so long as it's best evidence, we should use it so as to secure conviction when it is apt. Two leading cases on the issue of corroboration are Williams and Regina, 1957 to 1960 African Law Report Sierra Leone Series Court of Appeal decision at page 135, and George against Regina, 1968-69 African Law Report Sierra Leone Series, page 336. I will just deal with one to save time. In Williams and Regina, the accused appellant in the Court of Appeal, a soldier, was charged with having unlawful carnal knowledge of a girl under the age of 13 years, contrary to Section 6 of Cap 31 of the laws of Sierra Leone. In a trial on indictment, the victim, a girl of 8 years, alleged that after a visit to the accused appellant, he, the soldier, followed her into the bush and had sexual intercourse with her, even though she had not consented. Her mother gave evidence of her complaint. The medical evidence was that someone had sexual intercourse with her. The accused appellant admitted that the victim visited him, but said his family was present at the time. The accused appellant denied committing the offense. The jury returned a unanimous verdict of guilty. The soldier appealed this conviction. The Court of Appeal held. The central issue in the appeal was whether the victim, 8-year-old girl's testimony was corroborated. Court held it was not corroborated and overturned the conviction on that ground. The court's reasoning was that the law requires corroboration of the victim's testimony before a defendant can properly be convicted of the offense, and that the girl's testimony was not corroborated by the mother's testimony, nor by the medical evidence, there not being independent evidence implicating the accused appellant in some material particular. Such a case, in my opinion, with exact facts being charged under the new law of sexual penetration under Section 19 and sexual touching under Section 20, should, in my opinion, be treated differently, because the new law is silent on corroboration. There are judges and lawyers who would say the appeal court is bound by the previous decision. Hence, you should have a strict dogmatic adherence to that judgment under judicial precedent. I say, as a matter of caution, it would, in my opinion, be necessary to distinguish that case. In that, the case of Williams and Regina, it was charged under Cap 31, while now it is charged under Section 19, and escape its application to the new law. So you see that law can no longer be good law. So you see that law can no longer be good law and must be swiftly abolished as the circumstances demand. I can assume that if only we should adopt such policy, men and women alike will be careful and deliberate in the way we touch and deal with the opposite sex, and avoid circumstances that will most invariably land you in court before a judge. Another issue which is bound to come up is how long you take to address these cases. With all these special measures being put in place and the leapfrog method of bringing cases directly to the High Court, with the Attorney General applying Section 42, which is ipsissima verbis Section 89 of the Anti-Corruption Act, though it is amended, except that the powers are given to the Attorney General and not to the Anti-Corruption Commission, as in the ACCI. Society will hope that the time taken to complete these matters will improve. As judges, you should remember that there will only be confidence in the judiciary or the justice system if cases are resolved fairly in an expeditious and timely manner. Our vision speaks of these tenets when it says accessible, fair, and expeditious justice for all in Sierra Leone, and we ought to live up to it. As long as there are huge backlog of cases and delay in the handling of sexual offenses, it will invariably be impossible to do justice. We are now talking about special measures and how it could help for cases to be completed quickly, but this cannot be a panacea for all the problems in the justice system. While it will certainly go a long way, a lot more depends on us, the judges, and the way we manage our cases. Delays in the handling of these trials and retrials violate the alleged perpetrator's right to a fair trial within a reasonable time, while at the same time violates the fundamental rights of victims of sex crime. As judges, you should take responsibility in the case from the start and should not for once go with the idea once a matter has commenced in the court, it will not be your fault when there are delays caused by any of the counsel on both sides and witnesses. Your role is to be proactive with effective case and time management from start to finish and do justice within a reasonable time. The resolution of sexual offences charged to court must no doubt be achieved with deliberate speed, which could result to either conviction or acquittal, as the case may be, as the circumstances of the case demands. A word to the public. Let me address the public too. There's a very strong law against perpetrators, which for very good reasons is tilted in favor of the victim. The judiciary in turn has factored in this model court, which, as its name implies, is a specialized court and one that will be replicated in districts and other areas of Freetown as resources permit. We intend to do one in the east and one at York. That is as far as we can go. Much depends on you also. We need you to be complementary, to complement the efforts of government by doing the following. Proper parenting and discipline of children, as it is the children that grow up to become perpetrators. 2, let us be a brother's keeper. These offenses happen in our neighborhood and communities. What you do. 3, early reporting. The evidence is rape cases may not last. The evidence in rape cases may not last for longer than 72 hours, so that early reporting is crucial to the hotline, which is available 24 hours. The days of settlement, going to chief to report, settling with the police instead of using the 11 hotline, 116 hotline, should be over. You cannot report a case after a week and expect conviction. It will be unsafe to convict. The accused have rights too. Finally, I will be remiss if I fail to commend the government of Sierra Leone for the support. All this has been possible with the budget allocated to us, and we are extremely grateful. Despite coronavirus and its implication on finances and the economy, the judiciary received first and second quarter allocations and are poised to receive the third quarter allocation. With such support from the government and donors, we can move mountains. To you, the perpetrators, it is time for you to stop. Stop sexual violence and be a good citizen. God bless us all.
Madam First Lady, my Lords Chief Justices, Ministers of Government, members of the judiciary, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I guess it is afternoon already. Yesterday we delivered on a promise that has been made by several governments but never fulfilled. I told you this was going to be a year of delivery. We delivered yesterday, and today we are about to start a journey for the women and girls of Sierra Leone. This is truly going to be a long and arduous journey, but it is one that we should embark on together with the determination that we are going to free the girls and children who constitute more than 50% of our population. So I want to begin today's remark by saluting the great courage of survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. I want to assure them that Sierra Leone and friends of Sierra Leoneans who care and who we care and we continue to stand by you steadfastly. I also want to use this opportunity to publicly thank the First Lady for her tenacity. Thanks be to you, Madam. Hands off our girls is not just a statement. It has become a rallying cry of resistance and a trenchant restatement that we will fight back until we rid this country of sexual and gender-based violence. Thank you, Madam First Lady, for emboldening the young girls and women all over the nation that they can and must say no to predators and molesters. Thank you for reminding each and every one of us here, parents, community members, traditional and religious leaders, civil servants, members of the security forces, students, professional organizations, civil society, ordinary citizens, and national leaders, that we can and we must be part of urgently addressing this national emergency. Let us continue to explore new ways of collaborating very closely to change attitudes and end these crimes. We must acknowledge that economic disparities, cultural attitudes, and some all-round obnoxious attitudes toward women and girls contribute to the deepening crisis in our nation. But we are a good people. We are a nation of good people, I must say again. We should be better. We must do more to rid this nation of this menace. As a government, we have made an unambiguous statement that there is no place for impunity, and every perpetrator will be held accountable within the full remit of all existing laws of our country. I also want to thank our development partners for sharing our belief that this egregious crime must be tackled head-on. Permit me, ladies and gentlemen, to single out the UN Women and UNFPA and the Rainbow Center for their vigorous and relentless support to our government and the judiciary in making this further step in our collective fight a reality. Let me also thank my Lord the Chief Justice and members of the judiciary for their interminable support in fighting SGBV over the last 2 years. They have made a bold statement of their commitment to right this grave injustice by speedily augmenting every step of the fight against SGBV. We acknowledge universal obligations and international statutes and conventions that require us to eliminate SGBV. But above and beyond those, we are moved as a nation by a different impetus. Our belief that we must protect, include, and give every Sierra Leonean, especially women and girls, the opportunity to realize their full potential and contribute fully to our nation's development. So for us as a nation, SGBV is not only a moral or law and order question. It is a looming existential threat and human capital development question that we must contend with in a bid to achieve inclusive national development. So we have revamped and strengthened the Sexual Offences Act that is now tougher on convicted persons and should serve as a deterrent for potential offenders. For the first time in the history of this country, and through the work of the First Lady, there is more public awareness and heightened advocacy by civil society, the media, traditional and spiritual leaders, and ordinary citizens. We now have a focused ministry, the Ministry of Gender and Children's Affairs, that coordinates work with partners and ensures collaboration across ministries and agencies of government, proposes legislation and implement policies monitors and evaluates programs, and keeps the public engaged on SGBV. The male involvement strategy rolled out by the ministry that was alluded to earlier hopes to actively engage men and boys in their roles in ending SGBV. I've established a multi-sectorial oversight committee to regulate and monitor the work of all stakeholders. With the support of our partners, we have recently launched a one-stop center in various district referral hospitals in Freetown, Mayamba, Potloko, Pujehun, Koinadugu, and Kailam. There are firm commitments by our partners for 3 more. Staff have been trained, equipment has been provided, and these one-stop centers, we ensure compliance to safe homes and other referral pathways. I'm heartened that at this same time, we are developing a critical mass of personnel and specialist training in handling all aspects of sexual violence and crimes, from ensuring that survivors get access to coordinated and coherent support services, to collecting and preserving evidence, conducting forensic interviews and investigations, and prosecuting crimes in a court of law. We acknowledge that sexual offenses against women and children constitute a unique species of offenses. The survivors are highly traumatized, there is a high degree of stigma and wrongful cultural bias against the victims, and there is a large number of vulnerable witnesses. I am concerned about victimization and stigma, and I'm concerned that survivors who are primarily witnesses are re-traumatized by having to narrate their ordeals over and over again. This in itself deters other survivors from stepping forward and telling their stories. Survivors deserve justice, and they should be able to narrate their experience to a presiding judge without feeling lost or afraid in a daunting court process. We must leverage technology and other common sense special measures that make court processes less intimidating, so that survivors can provide the required quality of evidence that will lead to a conviction. Given the high prevalence of sexual and gender-based violence in our country and the very sensitive nature of such offenses, the importance of establishing a specialized court with all its facilitative special measures to aid vulnerable and intimidated witnesses cannot be overemphasized, and no doubt long overdue. We are here today, ladies and gentlemen, therefore, to launch another important step in this country's fight against sexual and gender-based violence against women and children. For the very first time, we are establishing a sexual offenses model court in this country. The Chief Justice has given a detailed description of the court and how it will work. My government welcomes and formally embraces the establishment of the Sexual Offences Model Court as part of its coordinated response to SGBV. It is hoped that these courts will ensure speedy conclusion of sexual offences cases and increase the rate of conviction against perpetrators. It is also hoped that there will be enhanced cooperation between the courts and the other agencies like the One-Stop Center, the Oversight Committee, and the Law Office. The Chief Justice has assured in his submission that new case management practices have been implemented and judges will discharge their constitutional duties fairly, efficiently, and in a timely manner. As a government, we are committed to ensuring the fundamental constitutional rights to fair trial for every person. But prosecute we will, and we will prosecute each case vigorously and in a competent and fair judicial process. Without compromising their impartiality, we expect judges to take all necessary and proactive measures in ensuring that survivors get justice. We also expect judges to engage regularly with civil society organizations, the media, government, and citizens, so each of these sectors know what role to play in developing more effective strategies in fighting SGBV. While commending the judiciary for taking this huge step in setting up the Sexual Offences Court, I'm also pleased to know that they have proposed to replicate the same all over the country, in each district, as a matter of fact. Be assured that my government will stay fully engaged and provide all necessary support in achieving that outcome. To all perpetrators, predators of the heinous and vicious crime of sexual and gender-based violence, especially against women and children, know that you no longer have a place in this society. We want you out, and we will take you out. You either change your ways, or you will be hunted down and thrown into prison. Ladies and gentlemen, on this note, I now declare the Sexual Offences Model Court open. Thank you all.
A sexual offences model court in each district. Full support from the government to achieve this. Thank you very much, sir, for your statement. We would like to appreciate you all for taking time out of your busy schedule in this COVID climate to unite with us to making the opening of the Sexual Offences Model Court a reality. We all share a common passion to eradicate this menace that is taking over our society, and together this collective energy will help society minimize and eradicate this menace in the land that we love. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a few announcements before we invite the President and the High Table on a conducted tour of the court. Because of the space, we have limited space back there, we would like to restrict the number of people going with the President to cut the ribbon and open the court. We would like to restrict it to members of the High Table, the judges of the Supreme Court, the Chief Minister, and the Ministers of Government present. Also, because of the limited amount of space, we would also like to limit the media houses allowed to go with the President to the President's media team, the First Lady's media team, the media team of the Judiciary, SLBC, and AYV. We apologize because of the space. We would like you all now to rise
Yes, get now. I'm not used to it.
Ora, do modo que banda una press. Press down, put that down. Just go. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, this take. What's up? Come on, this take yo. Yes, ma'am. Okay. You follow me small for okay. Yeah, please get come on.
This is where the witness, very soon we go there. The witness is separate. It's not coming to the normal door where we come. The witness will come in on a separated. And this is only for the golden witness. Other witnesses will do this program. So, very active. That's over there. By which we can even see whether it's closed.